What's up, everybody? It's Greg Burge with Delta Financial, and this is the Be the Difference podcast. This podcast is all about making you a better person in your life and in your business with sales, leadership, marketing, mindset, entrepreneurship, and everything under the sun. I'm getting better at my intro. Let's go. So, as you know, you probably saw the link when you clicked on this. You know exactly what this one's about. I'm talking all about leads today. This is going to be a short one. I just want to kind of chat with everyone about the concept of leads and how to actually run them appropriately, because there's a lot of simple mistakes that are being made that agents aren't realizing are mistakes. Okay. We have a lead source here at Delta Financial that is it's an online internet-based lead source through Google SEO. And it is one of the things, there's a lot of different ways that you can make leads unique. For instance, there's some lead sources will have a check and balances system for phone numbers. So basically, it can prevent fake phone numbers from being put in. Now that costs money. That's what sometimes makes leads cost more. Now this lead source that we have in Delta Financial is a little unique because it doesn't have that, but what it does is it checks the USPS and it can verify the home address right instantaneously as they put it in. So it matches the name to the address, and if the wrong address is put in, it won't let them submit a lead. It's actually a lot cheaper than trying to verify phone numbers. Addresses are way easier to check. So, with that being said, since we know that's exactly how they're being verified as their address, now they could still potentially put in a wrong number. And we kick back if it's like, a bunch of fake numbers. Like you can tell us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We can tell that that's a fake number, so it's going to get kicked back. However, with everyone knowing that the address is verified, well, a lot of people like to just show up to the house and try to do a sale right there. Or if they can't get them on the phone, show up and do a door knock. They know it's their house and they show up at a time when they believe that they're going to be home. It makes door knocking a lot easier, right? So that's just a way, it's a tactic to lean on that you can utilize since you know the background of how that lead is generated. And every lead has its own specific measures. I think the problem that most agents run into with leads is that they have an unrealistic expectation coming into it, and they don't understand how that lead was specifically generated or what makes it special. So they don't leverage those tips and tricks in order to maximize the performance of the lead, if that makes sense. So what they'll do is if you find yourself in this situation where you try a lead vendor and you try it for 1 week and then you're like, man, this sucked, and you jump ship, well, you never really gave it an opportunity to make sure that you know how to run them. And so I always tell my agents, like, commit to a lead source for a minimum of 4 weeks, where you really want to give them 2 months, because your performance on them is going to change and grow over time. And you're going to start to realize the ins and outs of these leads just by failing. Honestly, this entire tree is all about action. Like, you have to take action and you have to learn by doing, and you really learn by failing. You do something, you fail. It's kind of like touching a hot stove. You're like, nope, not touching that again, but you just can't quit. You got to keep touching stovetops, and the stovetops are going to look a little bit different every single time you touch them. And when you touch one and it's hot, you realize stovetops that look like that are hot. And when you touch one when it's not, that's success, and you just don't quit. So the problem is that you'll touch a stovetop and you'll be like, oop, it's hot. Nope, quitting, and you're done. And any momentum that you could have caught from doing that lead source continuously is now stopped and it's paused. And now you have to start over from scratch, because then you go to another lead vendor. And this also creates the wrong mindset. It creates this mindset that you have to have a specific performance by the lead has to have a specific performance to maintain it. And at no point are you stopping and saying, maybe I messed up. Maybe I didn't run the leads appropriately. Let me dig in and see what other ways I can run them. Let me go back to the lead vendor and see what I'm doing wrong. Let me have a conversation. Let me go ahead and test some other things out. Right? I've had so many mentorship sessions where I've talked to an agent and they're like, oh yeah, I'm doing everything possible. I got these leads and I did this, that, the other. And I'm like, I've used those leads. This is how I ran them. Oh, I did that. Okay, well, let me listen. Record your next call. And when they record it and they sent it to me, they didn't do anything that they said they did. It wasn't anything like they were taught, like what I taught them to do. And they think in their mind they are. But then when I show them the recording and I show them one of my recordings and I'm like, what's the difference between these two? They're like, oh, I see it. Now it makes sense because it's undeniable. It's right there. It's in recording. They thought they were doing it, but it's a bias. And you don't want to, you do not want to lean on a bias without doing all the proper actions ahead of time. So if you think that these leads are really bad, record every single phone call, send them to your upline, send them to your mentor, but also send them to the lead vendor. Take the time to do the extra steps and then just be like, hey, what am I doing wrong? Why are these not converting? Why am I not setting appointments? Why am I not sitting with people? Why, when I'm sitting with people, do they think that this is X, Y, or Z? Right? You're going to actually take the extra steps in order to perfect this process with this specific lead source. And if you took that route, that course of action, I can promise you that you're going to find more success, that you're going to start to master these little nuances. And then the next time, after you've got this lead source running and you're starting to make money, you will get baseline. You will have a baseline. And those are like your stats, your baseball card stats. So you can look at your leads and say, hey, I know if I buy X amount of leads, it's going to generate X amount of sales, which is going to generate X amount of leads to X amount of appointments to X amount of sales every single time, period, across the board. I got to buy these. This is what I'm going to end up with. Those are your metrics. And you have to tell your metrics week after week after week, and it's going to paint a picture for you, and you'll have an average, and the average will almost always play out. It should slightly raise over time. So now, when you've gotten to that point where your metrics have been set and you have a pretty good, stable performance, you can implement another lead source and do both at the same time and see if there's a difference and see if one performs differently. But the knowledge and experience you gain from running one lead source for, say, 2 months and sticking with it and going through the difficult, challenging times, well, now when you go to that second lead source, you're going to do much better because you learned a lot. You have the experience. You have the reps. Leads are not meant to be this magical resource that do the job for you. They don't do the work for you. The work is done by you. If it was that simple, if it was that easy to have this perfect lead source that's just going to spit out sales, the insurance industry would already be automated. They would not have a need for you, for me, for any agent out there. You know why? Because every single company could generate their own sales just by making leads or doing online, automated systems. They could do that already. If they could do that, it would have already been done because it cuts out the middleman. It cuts out you. You get paid for what you do. And that's what the challenge is getting in front of people. That's why you get paid so well, is because you have to get in front of people. And it's difficult. It's not easy. It's the most challenging thing that we do. Stop putting the onus and the responsibility for getting in front of people on the leads. Start putting it on yourself and your own performance. More than likely, you're probably just suck at what you do right now. And that's not a bad thing. But identifying where you are is the first step to knowing where you want to go and taking that journey on the path. If you got anything from this, if you learned anything, if you grew, if it's changed your mindset, then do me a favor, hit that like button below, follow the page, turn on your notifications so you know we're coming to you each week. Change your perspective on leads. Start taking more ownership of your business. And as always,